Welcome to another tarot reading by Esoteric Cloud Surfer. Today, I'm doing a reading about the full moon in Leo in 2026. And before we do the tarot reading, I'm going to talk about the full moon in itself, especially because this full moon is opposing an enormous stellium, which is a group of planets in the same sign, and this stellium is in Aquarius. So no, not only we should focus on the full moon itself, but also how it's opposing every planet that is in Aquarius and how it is influencing and being influenced by this stellium. Before we start also, remember to leave a like and subscribe, it's really appreciated. And remember, this reading is very general and non-personal, so if you want a more in-depth reading or a more personal reading, contact me on Instagram using the links down below, and you can email me as well, and you can find that email in the description too. So first, real quick, let's talk about the full moon in Leo. Full moon in general means an overreaction and overstimulation in general about any sign that the full moon is in. Leo is the fixed fire sign ruled by the sun and comes from the 5th house. So it's all about paying attention and receiving attention, as well the things that you are entertained and the things that you like to entertain. And because it's full moon in Leo, it means an overreaction and overstimulation about image, attention, pleasure, creativity, and spirituality. The overreaction can come from fixed or stubborn feelings or vibes in general. Just certain environments, certain spaces that you are in might be overstimulating you and making you overreact about your image, about others' images, about how you think or feel about how others see you, or their expressions. Most likely, their expressions and their actions will trigger or create an overreaction or overstimulation, especially in areas where there is an entertainment, a vision, or a place where you get or give attention that is being talked about or being analyzed or being exposed. And because it's full moon, perhaps it's not even getting too much exposure, perhaps it's not being too much analyzed and being judged by others or yourself, but that little bit of interaction, of judgment, can trigger in you an overreaction, and you might get too defensive or too happy about whatever you and others are feeling and talking about those places of attention or interaction or something that you are fixed on about entertainment, spirituality, and creativity as well. And because we're talking about Leo, we can't forget feelings and emotions that are connected to things that get you excited or that you see people in your surroundings getting excited by. And then you might feel excited together with them, or you might feel insecure to expose and be seen by how you personally feel about whatever people in your surroundings are getting excited. Or in this case, specifically because of the Aquarius in stellium, people might, and yourself might be overreacting to limits and boundaries, especially if you feel like they are specifically limiting your access or your enjoyment of your pleasure, your entertainment, and the things that you like to pay attention to or receive attention from. In general, full moon in Leo is not very deep, but it's always connected to how you feel excited and connected, and how you feel personally close to or far away from your places of interest. And when I say interest, it goes beyond entertainment or things that you like to do as in hobbies. Especially because it's full moon, we can go a bit deeper into the interests that Leo generates or that Leo's descriptions relate to, and we can talk about spiritual interests or your natural interests, and that goes all the way into how you live your life and how you obtain and maintain structure, for an example, because those aspects are intimately related to your image, to how you see yourself and how you think others see yourself, and how you judge others based on their images, actions, and expressions. And then we can also relate that to the visions, the imaginations, the creativity, and the spiritual belief systems. Because all of that, together with your image and how you judge others, is a big part of the mechanism of your structure, of your day-to-day life, actually. So full moon in Leo can help you reflect and react to how you see not just yourself, but your structure, your progress, your business, everything that is really personal to you, to your life, and your sense of achievement. especially because Leo is also connected to our ego. You might be overreacting when your ego is challenged or diminished by stability, structure, and limits. And if you keep it smooth and light, you'll have a lot of access to great feelings of creativity and spirituality with this full moon in Leo. Just be careful to not take those too far and get overconfident or over-attached to any sort of egotistical behavior or extreme praise or insecurity about your uniqueness and individuality. Okay, and now let's take a look at how the full moon is reacting to the big stellium in Aquarius. And the stellium is a group of planets in the same sign. So we have Pluto, Mars, the Sun, Mercury and Venus all in Aquarius. Pluto is the earliest in 3 degrees, then Mars is 8 degrees Aquarius, the Sun is currently 13 degrees Aquarius, Venus is 20 degrees Aquarius, and Mercury is 22 degrees Aquarius. So everything is well into Aquarius. Pluto is still early in the 3rd degree, but it's already past the cusp with Capricorn, and Mercury is the latest at 22 degrees, but it's still far away from the 27th degree, which means entering the cusp and transition phase into Pisces. So we are experiencing now not the highest peak yet, but a crescendum in how these Aquarius energies are affecting us. And what is Aquarius? It's fixed air, ruled by Saturn, co-ruled by Uranus, and Mercury is exalted in Aquarius. Fixed air means being fixed, consistent or stubborn, with ways to think, communicate, analyze, and socialize. Because Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, also it is influenced and cares about structure, routine, networking, and association. The co-ruling of Uranus gives an extra charge and emphasis to rebellious, opposing, innovative, and unique energies. So Saturn plus Uranus gives the fixed air element an extra development and extra care about unique and innovative structures, networking, and association, and the will to rebel in order to improve how flexible and creative the structure, the system, and the limits and boundaries can be. So Aquarius, yes, cares about structure, but Aquarius are ready to sacrifice some safety and some security in order to chase or create unique perspectives or realistic circumstances that they think it's possible to be true if they keep being themselves and work hard enough to achieve it. And then Mercury is exalted in Aquarius. That means overthinking, overcommunicating, and overanalyzing, especially about fixed and unique ideas and perspectives about personal interests and realistic structures, society and government, astrology, science, sports, politics, fashion, anything that an Aquarius is focused on and they think it's cool, entertaining, and constructive, they will overthink and overcommunicate about it, even in ways that can become weird. But then, if it really has value, if it's really real and reliable, others will think it's weird, but they'll see the value and they'll want to connect with the Aquarius. And then Aquarius can also overthink and overcommunicate and tire themselves and their relationships when they feel a sort of connection and emotional safe spot. So the full moon here in Leo is bringing a lot of balance to those energies of Aquarius, of innovative and unique limits and boundaries and realistic perspectives. Because yes, Aquarius has Uranus and Mercury to make it more flexible, more active, and more expressive, but in its core, it's fixed air and ruled by Saturn. So the emphasis on structure, responsibility, sacrificing, and making sure things are correct, it's still there. Sometimes even the Aquarius forget about that because the unpredictability of Uranus and of the Mercury exaltation kinda disguise or makes forget or makes it too light the factor of structure and responsibility, but it's always there. And sometimes Aquariuses feel kinda tired or they get caught by surprise because they forgot about the responsibility and the structure because they were so excited about communicating or about changing something or rebelling against something or being very fixed in a cause that they think it's fair, just, and humanitarian, but also realistic. And then sometimes they'd be like, oh shit, my bills, my house, my work, my business, I was too busy thinking and communicating, you know what I'm saying? And full moon in Leo, it can correct that by bringing an extra sense of care without being too scary, because all the air signs are scared, quote unquote. That means they just don't really know how to handle their own and others' water element, because air is the external side of the masculine element and water is the internal side of the feminine element. So it's extremely opposing because, for example, earth is the internal side of the external element and fire is the external side of the internal element. So they have a bit of both, while water as just internal element and air as just external element. So air signs don't really know how to handle water element, and the water signs don't really know how to handle the air element, especially from others. But water signs, because they are more connected to the spirit and more connected to the animalistic natures, it's easier for them to ease naturally into how to communicate, think, and analyze in logical and cold ways, for an example, while the air elements struggle a little bit to even initiate their approach into the emotional realm because it takes like more experience, more trial and error because of the own logical way that air signs use to interpret the world and themselves and the emotional realm in specific. While the water signs, they way quicker derive conclusions and they gather way more experience from small encounters, from small attempts, and they are not so harsh and cold to themselves and to others, so they maintain themselves way more open and ready, even though they feel way more uncomfortable than the air signs, because the air signs limit themselves in those emotions, which in turn reduces the amount of experience that they can gain from a certain circumstance. Or further than that, the air signs also reduce the belief and the value in their own perspective about the experiences, while sometimes the water signs, they give too much care, too much purpose, and too much meaning to certain small experiences or achievements. But that's what makes them go quicker to learn the air realm than the air realm can learn the water realm. So the full moon in Leo here can scare a little bit you and others in dealing with all those Aquarius elements. But if you just believe in yourself and all possibilities and keep yourself open to learn about yourself and the surroundings, full moon in Leo can give you a great feeling of easing into this Aquarius element because it's not as scary, it's more relatable actually, than the water signs, for an example, and even the earth signs, because I usually say the opposition between Leo and Aquarius is the most relatable and the easiest to understand opposition, because they both really care about uniqueness, individuality, and spirituality. So it's very easy for them to communicate even when they are at odds, and sometimes they know, Aquarius and Leos, or people that have a lot of those energies, they know that it's at those times when you are at odds that there is the most knowledge and wisdom to extract from. And sometimes Leos and Aquarius will keep clashing with each other because they know it's kind of healthy for themselves, but then it can go too far. But that's not for this part, that's not for right now. But full moon in Leo will bring, especially in my perspective, balance and a sense of care, lightness, and kind-heartedness to yourself and to others around you, if you can show them a spiritual guiding light, and that can just be through your vibes, or if you can be inspired and soothed by others' spiritual guide lights. And what I mean by that is that you are already in that space, so you don't really need to do something or do anything different. If you're already reacting in a positive way to your image and others' images, just by you being around them, you can bring that feeling of easiness. So everybody that was dealing and are dealing with these extreme Aquarius energies can just feel or be themselves this soothing and even exciting energy. On the other way, if you or others are too focused in reality, structure, business, being logic, being correct, making sure they are unique and others see that, make sure forcibly at times that others know why you are unique and valuable, Aquariuses can go really far in that aspect if they don't have that Leo energy or Leo-like energy, if they don't have in themselves already or around them a validating, uplifting, and entertaining, very special here for Aquarius and Leos, energy and support system around them. They will logically, through words, through actions, through creating certain scenarios and events, they will forcibly try to make others see and understand in their own Aquarius logical way why the Aquarius is valuable and unique and why they should get into certain positions and whatnot. So Full Moon Leo can just soothe all of that and make sure that the Aquarius energy is being used for actually progressive and humanitarian causes. So if you are too focused on the logical aspect, on showing others and making sure others think you are unique, you might close yourself and others around you to this Leo energy and cause extreme scenarios to balance yourself, or you might attract and witness others going through those scenarios. So how is Full Moon in Leo balancing Pluto in Aquarius? Just bringing a feeling of excitement, entertainment, calm, and sureness on a spiritual and emotional level to your visions and perspectives about you and others going through transformative circumstances when it comes to initiating or enduring to obtain or maintain structure and status while changing your life or while you see the world changing around you in a quick and fast way, and then you might feel the need to catch up, or you feel others lagging behind to catch up with the new world or with the new way to be sustainable, yet unique and individual in this world. And Full Moon in Leo can also make you react more and praise more and be more grateful to those little moments of happiness and satisfaction, and then those can really help you go through or just generate new images to motivate you and excite you about the new deep transformations physically and socially especially that Pluto in Aquarius is bringing in. So it can make you feel more clear and more confident about your causes, and it can bring you more perspectives that are sure and clear about how you are progressing into your own structure that is unique and profitable, and that allows you to be yourself and express yourself and connect to others that have unique circumstances and that can express themselves as well. That's actually like the dream of any Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, Mercury, Uranus, or Saturn, is to be a part, an active part of a unique community where the Aquarius themselves and everybody else expresses themselves freely in a unique and consistent way, and then they have a structure and a system that is real but that allows for that flexibility while being profitable and progressive. So Pluto in Aquarius is engaging and creating those changes and transformative scenarios so we can change the fundamental core of what it means to be realistic and practical while incorporating that flexibility and uniqueness of Aquarius. And Full Moon in Leo actually can bring clear examples of why and how we should strive for that, to maintain the spirit free, so we can be consistent and real about our spiritual belief systems and our creativity and the purpose of why we care so much about certain structure, about certain limits, about certain principles, and then actually bring that into reality in unique and realistic ways. And Full Moon in Leo can make us care more, or can make us perceive how others care about their own unique realities and how we can engage them and bring them to their own senses or to our own unique association. Then in 8 degrees Aquarius we have Mars. That means being more passionate or frustrated about fixed and unique ways to think and communicate, or fixed and unique routines and structures. So Full Moon in Leo can make you overreact even more and get more angry, more motivated, more passionate, or more desireful, more full of desire to feel entertained, to feel praised, to feel validated and recognized in areas where you have structure, association, limits and boundaries, or where you can broadcast to a big audience, to a big group of people, your personal, unique and individual personal interests, personal insecurities, and personality in general. So Full Moon in Leo can make you extra reactive to how you and others react, and give or not give attention to your personal interests that you are broadcasting in a unique and logical way. And this might not even just be happening because you might be going through an emotional battle for you to feel comfortable and accepting about your own personal interests, personal desires when it comes to society, when it comes to personal perspectives about structure, government, when it comes to you being a part of a network that share the same interest, that share the same way to approach reality in a unique way. And full moon in Leo here can make you feel too judged and too exposed, and you might not feel enough real support, or you might not be giving enough value yourself to the support that you're already receiving in those areas to make you feel validated, safe and secure in expressing yourself to a network that share your personal interest. Or you might be connected or have the chance to connect yourself to such network, but you might feel embarrassed, insecure, or like your peers will not accept or will judge you when they discover and see you a part of that network or specific group of people, or ways to think and communicate in a unique way. On the other side, full moon in Leo can generate extreme feelings of confidence and safety if you already developed or value already, and you see it as good, a support system that you yourself developed or that others around you together with you have developed to make you feel accepted, validated, and safe in expressing and associating your unique passion, frustration, motivation, or aggressiveness. Then we have the sun in Aquarius in 13 degrees, and that's why it's a full moon, because the moon is opposing the sun, and this can be extreme feelings of insecurity, exposure, and embarrassment about your fixed ways to act, think, and express about reality, structure, rebelliousness, and change, or extreme logical actions, perspective, and conversations that limit, that dry up, and bring too much into reality feelings of pleasure, entertainment, attention, and relatability about your core set of values and how you have a unique perspective about spirituality, creativity, and entertainment. This can also bring extreme balance, extreme feelings of comfort and safety and validation about your unique way to think, communicate, and analyze about reality, structure, uniqueness, and individuality. We also have Venus in Aquarius in 20 degrees, and it's also opposing the full moon in Leo, and this can bring extreme feelings of insecurity and unsureness about your unique and individual relationships and situations of pleasure, commitment, and validation in a more logical and unique way, especially when judging your structure and your unique way to associate, or the uniqueness, the practicality, and the value of your associations, your structure, and your networking, or how you network specifically. This can also mean extreme logical, suffocating, and dry ways to think, communicate, and analyze in your relationships, in your commitments, and on the networking in your structure that can kill, block, and limit extreme feelings of pleasure, validation, or this can bring balance, because if you are having extreme feelings of insecurity, the more logical and real aspects that are also unique of your relationships and communications can block and even transmute those feelings to feelings of resilience and emotional sureness. Then we also have Mercury in Aquarius, and that is also being balanced here by the full moon in Leo. Full moon in Leo being more emotional, more spiritual, and more caring, that will balance how you or what you are communicating about, or to whom you are communicating about, and how you are receiving that communication and how they are receiving your communication when it comes to unique and realistic communications and ways to think and analyze. This can make you feel more validated, and you can be validating others more unique, perhaps not so capable, ways to communicate, but you see where they're coming from, and you see they have a purpose and unique cause to be connected with that, whatever they're communicating about. And others can also see more your light and more your spiritual purposes, because instead of you being communicating super correctly or super efficiently or super according to whatever audience you're communicating to, you are standing on a spiritual, emotional, or purposeful cause. They can see your consistency, and because you are consistently shining in the same place, spiritually they can see where you're coming from and relate to you way quicker. And then by default, because you're already relating on a spiritual level, you can come to easier terms and communications that are unique, progressive, and stable. Now let's get into the tarot reading part of this video. And first, let's start with a tarot card for full moon in Leo. For the full moon Leo in itself, we got the card the Devil, also with the influence of Capricorn. And the Devil doesn't mean anything spooky or scary, just means a heavy focus in details. With the full moon in Leo, you are being exposed to your own and others' details about whatever feelings and emotions they have associated with your and theirs image, attention, entertainment, pleasure, and validation. So make sure to not kill the good vibes, the good feelings, the good entertainment with a lot of details, with a lot of limits and boundaries, because it's totally reflecting the Aquarius stellium that we talked about earlier in the astrology part of the video. Because we have so many planets in Aquarius, it's very easy to focus on details, on limits, on boundaries, in reality, in structure, in the world, how the world is pressuring you, and you might use all those details to block good feelings, good vibes, feelings of validation, pleasure, and connection, for an example. Also, this might make you feel like your details are being exposed. You might feel others are trying to prey and pry on your little ways to be, to go around, to go through your routine, to go through your patterns. You might feel like others are reading too much into your beliefs, into your individuality, into your uniqueness, into your value. You might feel they are like nitpicking little flaws in you, about your image, about your structure, your status, and your business. This most likely will be overreactions, so make sure to not take them too far away, but still have a strong image of yourself, believe in yourself and in your value. Also, this might mean that details, or being forced to focus in details, or you missing some details, can make you and others overreact and overexpress, over-sentimentalize things that deal with image, ego, uniqueness, individuality, spirituality, and creativity. If you have Sun, Moon, Rising, or Mars in Aries, the tarot card for the full moon in Leo is the King of Swords. This means you can be a great support and a great example when it comes to thinking, communicating, analyzing, and socializing in new, innovative ways. Because you are running the full moon, this means you have a gift to bring fire, to bring inspiration, to bring passion, to bring aggression, to be an example, to bring creativity, to bring spirituality, to bring good vibes, and to bring the light of acceptance and righteousness to your way to initiate and show others how to initiate real conversations, real value, and real structure through communicating, thinking, analyzing, and socializing in more spiritually real ways. If you have Sun, Moon, Rising, or Venus in Taurus, or if you have Sun in Scorpio, this reading is for you. Taurus squaring the full moon, squaring the Aquarius in stellium, they are learning how to relate, communicate, and commit in more light, logical, and spiritual ways. So instead of committing so much with desires, practicality, safety, or security, they must compromise, they must engage with uniqueness, individuality, spirituality, and still reality and structure, but they must engage, they must relate, they must commit with reality and structure that it's flexible, unique, and that supports and progresses through unique expression, unique thoughts, and unique relationships. The Lovers here means an extra emphasis in needing or wanting to communicate and feel a part of something, not just a part of something for the sake of being a part of something, because it relates to a cause, it relates to a desire, it relates to a healing trauma, it relates to a safety mechanism. And Taurus, it's all about safety, security, and practicality, but also about balance, fairness, and value. So Tauruses are learning how to see the real value, the real unique structural value of extreme feelings and emotions that make them feel spiritually inspired, validated, and tolerated, so then they can really commit with that fixed earth energy to be stubborn or consistent in practicality, value, commitment, and love. So Tauruses are learning from both the full moon and the Aquarius in stellium how to love, commit, relate, and give themselves, but also how to expect and extract from others the same level of real but spiritually inspired communication, connection, commitment, and love. And Tauruses might go through some harsh quote unquote breakups in their own perspective, not with people or places, but because they were expecting something, a level of support, a level of care, a level of appreciation from a certain situation, scenario, or relationship, and they might be seeing right now or overreacting to what looks like non-commitment, non-fairness, and non-value from things that they were already connected, related, or committed to. This can make or break it, or this can make you realize that you deserve more value, or maybe you being valued too much in a circumstance, and it's your chance to make things balanced by communicating, relating, seeing, being passionate, and transforming yourself in a unique, individual, real, but also flexible way to achieve or maintain an extreme feeling of spiritual and unique personal care and validation. So all of this to change how you communicate, how you perceive your commitment, and how you can expect and extract from others, and how to stay strong in your values and communicate them without being too possessive or manipulative. So also learning how to communicate your values and demand your values and your needs in a more mutable, light, and logical way without losing the emotional purpose and original care. So learning how to recognize value, how to recognize what circumstances and situations have real value for you, and how to expect and extract from others the value that you deserve, and you learning how to communicate your values and your needs in a more unique, realistic, individual, and spiritual way. Also, you might just be overreacting to a lot of excitement, ego tripping, or insecurity about your relationships and about you, how you and others are thinking, communicating, and analyzing about yourself, your personal life, your structure, your security, and your values. If you have Sun, Moon, Rising, or Mercury in Gemini, the Hanged Man is a tarot card for your full moon in Leo transit. This means you're gonna be very aware, exposed, or forcibly aware of your internal and deep subconscious, natural, animal, and spiritual patterns. You might feel overwhelmed, you might feel incapable of moving, thinking, communicating, and analyzing, because so many emotions, so many feelings, or you might just feel a little bit off, like you're not really present. It all depends if you overreact and how you overreact to feelings and emotions dealing with your image, status, entertainment, attention, and pleasure. You might be feeling too exposed, so then you start to overreact to every little detail and subconscious pattern that you see reflected within yourself or out of yourself, but in the end of the day reflects yourself, reflects your subconscious. Or you might just be feeling too much in general. You might just be aware, logically or not logically, about certain subconscious desires. Maybe certain traumas might be coming up to you, certain desires might be stronger right now, certain emotions, feelings, and visions that might pop up in your mind pop up in your awareness and you don't really understand where they come from, and you have to give in a little bit to the emotional side, to the spiritual side, because logicality will not help you a lot in understanding this deep exploration of yourself. Because the hanged man basically means that the logical mind is hanged. It cannot move in the midst of so many emotions and feelings. That's why you see Neptune riding horses through the water, because you have to ride through the water. You cannot use the air element to its full capacity here to extract all the wisdom and knowledge from all the subconscious patterns being shown to you. So full moon in Leo, in a way, can be like a beacon, a lighthouse, a magnifying glass even, to help you have more sturdy visions and conclusions about parts of yourself that are being reflected to you. Full moon in Leo is also the cause of this reflection of you and the others being more aware of your subconscious patterns. And just make sure to use the Aquarius stellium to bring more consistency to your logical realm, to limit and boundary negative thoughts and negative relationships and communications, because you are in a more soft phase right now. You might be feeling more exposed or overwhelmed because you and others might be more aware of your internal depths. So make sure to use the Aquarius stellium to have realistic, unique, and safe conversations while maintaining a level of logicality, uniqueness, and individuality. And make sure to accept the light, to accept the reflection, to accept the messages, the conclusions, the wisdom and the knowledge that you might be getting about yourself, or that others might be reflecting or directly giving to you by them observing you in a unique and realistic way. So accept some weird communications, some weird relationships, some weird thoughts, some weird feelings, but make sure that you have a spiritual purpose, an image, a way of living that you want to achieve, and make sure to only really accept and work with the reflections that are in course to that image, to that way of living, to that goal that you have on a spiritual, creative, personal, unique, and individual level. Make sure to bring a lot of logicality, practicality, and realism to any confusing thoughts and feelings that do not support your path. And maybe you're realizing that you didn't have a very clear purpose and a very clear path. And full moon in Leo, together with Aquarius stellium, is showing you potential paths, potential things you could focus and care about. Or you're just seeing others caring about and having a focus and you're really not too much into it, which is normal. You do have some Gemini elements, but this can be a wake-up call or a reinforcing call, or just a light in the dark so you can find something that is worth building, keeping, adding pieces and experiences to that build-up. Because with the Hanged Man, with Neptune, you're just swimming in the ocean of your own nature and origin. So there are many spiritual desires that you must also go through. But make sure to react to the ones that have the brightest light, that relate to you more on a personal and logical level, and that can make you improve and bring more uniqueness and individuality to your reality and networking and relationships. If you have Sun, Moon, Rising, or Jupiter in Cancer, the tarot card for the full moon in Leo 2026 is Justice. So this means you might be overreacting and over-responding whenever you feel you're not being done justice, whenever you feel others are not giving you enough value, or they're not giving enough value to things that you care about, that you pay attention and are entertained by. Also, you might be overreacting to you not feeling like you have a fair appearance or others treat you fairly upon your appearance. You might be judging too much yours and others' images, status, uniqueness, and individuality. You might be feeling like your ego is being too judged and too valued and put on scales. You might feeling like others don't have the necessary emotional capabilities to value you in true justice, or you just might be overreacting, over-responding to things that you think are unfair in the world, because we do have an Aquarius stellium right here, opposing this full moon in Leo, so you might be claiming justice, or thinking and really feeling that things are unfair, in certain structures, in certain systems, in certain ways of thinking about reality, and you might be misunderstanding certain unique situations that you can associate yourself with, or you might be misunderstanding the uniqueness and the nuances of certain political, governmental, and societal structures and events that are being exposed to you, and you might claim justice for something that you might be missing the nuance about. But I would focus more on yourself with this full moon in Leo. I would focus on being fixed and stubborn in feelings and emotions that are good, valuable, and real about your image, your value, your uniqueness, and your individuality. And then claim justice, be judgmental about yourself, and expect and demand from others the same level of love, care, relatability, sophistication, and understanding that you give to yourself, to your new feelings, new emotions, and new moods, or how you approach in a more emotional and spiritual way, and more connective and caring way, extreme feelings and extreme emotions about yours and others' images. So claim from others the same level of judgment and value that you give to yourself. No more or no less. If you have Sun, Moon, or Rising in Leo, your tarot card for the full moon in Leo 2026 is the King of Pentacles, Cardinal Earth. This means you can be a great support or a great example when it comes to being stable, practical, secure, and strong in your beliefs, in your image, in your status, in your spiritual belief system, in your entertainment, in the things that you pay attention to, and the things that you like to receive attention for. So you can be a great example on how to defend or show all the things that I just mentioned, because others might be overreacting to feelings of insecurity and feelings of non-validation about their entertainment, about their value, about their image, about their status, about their spiritual belief systems. And you can be a great support or a great example in how to be realistic, practical, safe, and secure while maintaining a strong belief in yourself, in all possibilities, in spirituality, in whatever entertainment, attention, and validation you are being supported by or participating and committing about. Also, you can be a great example in how to be realistic and practical with intense feelings of excitement, uniqueness, individuality, creativity, spirituality, and the ego in general. And also, you can be a great support to bring others to reality, to bring others to realistic spiritual senses, because they might be too lost into the Aquarius stellium and they're too realistic, they're too cold, they're too dry, they're too logical, they're too separative, they're too controlling, they're too weird, they're too alien, and you can bring, together with a full moon in Leo, them back to natural, spiritual senses of community, pleasure, entertainment, uniqueness, and individuality in a consistent, progressive, constructive way. Let's go, Leos. We need you. We need you. If you have Sun, Moon, Rising, or Mercury in Virgo, your tarot card for full moon in Leo 2025 is the Nine of Cups. This means you have an opportunity to elevate your emotions and feelings. Basically, this means you can just feel very good right now, or you can feel more grateful, more connected, and more purposeful about things that you're already valuing. Also, this means you might elevate your awareness and your ability to see and comprehend certain emotional aspects, more natural and spiritual purposes of yourself and others around you if they share your physical, structural, and realistic spaces. Because Virgo is mutable earth, so it's all about mixing and mingling reality, organization, and structure in a mutable, soft, fair, balanced way. So now you can be more aware, you can have a better eye and a bigger perception about yours and others' feelings and emotions that are the core and the foundation, or that are causing perturbances and mutability in reality, structure, and organization. Also, this means you might put feelings above reality and above structure, or you have to deal with people that are doing that, and then you need to bring them to reality in a balanced, sophisticated, caring way. Also, this means that you might be extracting a lot of wisdom and knowledge in order to support yourself in your current routines or in new routines and patterns with emotional backbone, spiritual purpose, emotional and spiritual guidance and righteousness. This also means that others that share with you routines, patterns, and ways to act and think in realistic and organized ways about reality, structure, networking, and association, they might be putting certain feelings and emotions about you and about how you do your routine and patterns, or how you participate with them in routines and patterns, and they might put all those feelings ahead of reality, ahead of structure, and ahead of just a good, clear communication. They might get too exalted in feelings and emotions that deal with image, status, validation, and attention/entertainment. Or you might actually be in their mind, their perspective, claiming too much space, claiming too much light, and then they're gonna think you're throwing too much shade. Or you might be thinking and feeling that others are throwing too much shade because you have an elevated feeling or sensibility to your image and your status. But that's not very likely. What I feel more is you having the ability to expand on feelings and emotions, and having the ability to have a more clear, logical, yet spiritual understanding of emotions and feelings, specifically related with image and status, that are in yours and others' foundation or impactful, or in the origin of impactful changes in routine, pattern, and organization. If you have Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Saturn in Libra, the Fool is the tarot card for you in the full moon in Leo 2026. This means you are now in the start of a journey, or you might feel overwhelmed, you might overreact and overrespond to scenarios, thoughts, feelings, ideas, or communications that show to you or from you some instability, a new start, a new beginning. Or you might feel extremely excited, extremely giddy, and extremely egotistical with the opportunity for you to create, go into, or participate by association into new, unique, rebelling, opposing, or innovative scenarios, thoughts, ideas, or feelings. Because not only you are sextiling the full moon in Leo, you are trining also the Aquarius stellium, and Uranus is the co-ruler of Aquarius, so you might be getting an extra emphasis, an extra influence from the Aquarius stellium, and you might be overreacting or over-fulfilling yourself with feelings, wants, needs, perspectives, or visions about change, rebelling and opposing, about reality or within reality. Or you might sing from others too much from that, and then you might think they are fools, and you start to think about them in new negative ways. But in general, and most likely, this is just the meaning for a new start with this full moon in Leo. You're gonna be realizing and feeling extremely confident or extremely secure about the opportunity for you to create a new cycle in any area of your life, in any shape or form, in any perspective, because that's what zero means. If you add any number to zero, zero will become that number. So any new space that you go in right now, you can create something new for yourself, a new life cycle in every realm in your life, in any area of your life. Just make sure to have good feelings and emotions of consistency or stubbornness when it comes to spirituality, creativity, entertainment, attention, and validation. And make sure to have good transformations, passions, actions, relatability, and thoughts that are unique, realistic, stable, and progressive. And make sure to take courage if you are feeling insecure or exposed, and make sure to balance yourself, bring the ego a little bit down if you are very excited and very happy with new thoughts, new ideas, new styles, new communications, new dynamics, or new physical scenarios. If you have Sun, Moon, Rising, Pluto, Mars, or Uranus in Scorpio, the Three of Swords is your tarot card for the full moon in Leo 2026, and you are squaring the full moon in Leo, and you are squaring the stellium in Aquarius, and your tarot card is a Three of Swords, so that means you're being aware completely for the first time, or you had small awarenesses, now they are coming together to make a big awareness when it comes to being logical, to think, communicate and analyze in more logical and clear ways, or just you creating a new awareness about your relationships or about your relationships. You know what I'm saying? Or you're deriving more conclusions and being more aware or being aware of different things in your physical surroundings, within your neighbors, within your family, within your friends, or you're just being aware in a new way about how you communicate to others, especially, or how you think about yourself, about others, how you think about others when interacting with yourself, what you think about communication and socializing and networking in general, right? Specifically in areas that deal with uniqueness, individuality, ego, progress, humanitarianism, structure, consistency, and reality, while having creativity, freedom, flexibility, change, and uniqueness without sacrificing entirely structure, safety, and predictability. And I think that is the focus for most Scorpios in this full moon, is to first, it's to, in the end of the day, learn or be aware of things by the first time about how they communicate and how they associate with others. And it all starts by learning how to deal with or go through overreaction and over responses to feelings and emotions related with image, attention, and validation, then learning how to expose in a realistic, unique, and consistent way those reactions or whatever feelings and emotions, purposes, grudges, or strong beliefs, those reflections from the full moon in Leo generated. And then you're going to be aware of certain aspects of yourself or the audience that you're trying to reach in a logical, light, and cold way. Or you're going to learn that you need to be a bit more logical and a bit more cold in order to really connect in a safe and progressive way. Or you're going to learn that your audience or whoever you're trying to reach to requires a bit more logical, cold, and detached communication or association, but that you might find somebody, somewhere, some ideas or some feelings that in the midst of that big audience you can focus and be more intense and more emotional with. But in the end of the day, it's all about you creating new awarenesses about thinking, communicating, analyzing, socializing, and networking in more light, cold, detached, flexible, and open ways. If you have Sun, Moon, Rising, or Jupiter in Sagittarius, the Six of Pentacles is your tarot card for the full moon in Leo 2026. This means that you or others are bringing more attention, more authority, more entertainment, more care, more validation, more insecurity, or more reality and structure to how you go about your own structure, your own reality, your own responsibility, your own organization, and your business, your status, and your day-to-day life. So this may just be you overreacting and over-responding to others' opinions, thoughts, expressions, and judgmental perspectives about the world. For example, imagine somebody is talking about certain politics, certain ways they do stuff, they talking about how somebody else does something, and you might feel like they are trying to bring authority and attention to your reality and your structure. Or in a more personal way, means that you are having an illumination, extreme feelings, extreme visions, and deriving more wisdom and knowledge, being it real or la la landish, about how you and others participate in your routine, pattern, networking, and organization. Or you might be feeling like you can't be as free, as wise, and as spiritual in your reality and your relationships, it might be you overreacting or being over insecure about how you communicate to others, how others are able to understand you, and how you are or not open to others' visions, wisdom, knowledge, feelings, and emotions about their image and their status in their own or in yours routine, networking, and association. At the end of the day, Six of Pentacles means bringing more attention, action, and authority to reality, structure, networking, and organization. If you have Sun, Moon, Rising, Saturn, or Mars in Capricorn, this reading is for you, and the Prince of Cups is your tarot card for the full moon in Leo 2026. This means you are developing for the first time, or you being aware that you are developing on a subconscious level a new external, logical, and more relatable way to express, communicate, and commit with yours and others' feelings, emotions, spiritual purposes, spiritual places of comfort and genesis, and also you are learning to see yours and others' foundations, traumas, transformative circumstances, and the wisdom, the knowledge, and the consequences of those events, and you are learning how to relate, bring balance, and connect in a more sophisticated way your deep feelings and emotions, your deep visions and understanding about reality and spirituality with others. And then also realizing who is the type of people, places, things, and audiences that you should be communicating and associating your deep emotions, deep feelings, and deepening understanding, wisdom, and knowledge about reality, structure, networking, and association. If you have Sun, Moon, Rising, Mercury, Saturn, or Uranus in Aquarius, the Four of Wands is your tarot card for the full moon in Leo 2026. This means you are bringing more structure, more analysis, more realism, and more practicality to your feelings, visions, imaginations, creativity, spirituality, and spiritual belief systems. You might be also overreacting and trying to bring too much sense, too much logicality, too much control to yours and others' feelings, expressions, visions, and imaginations about yours and theirs image, status, and validation when it comes to broadcasting, expressing, or associating unique ideas, unique ways to think, communicate, analyze, socialize, and do networking in realistic, practical, and progressive ways. You might be trying to understand in a realistic way the purpose, the feeling, the desire behind certain actions, limits, boundaries, or associations from people around you, from governments, or big organizations. But in the end of the day, don't let yourself be victim and too harshly influenced by the Aquarius stellium right now. Pluto, Mars, Sun, Venus, and Mercury are there, so you might be too logical, too focused, too changing, too rebellious, bringing too much separation and detachment to yours and others' extreme feelings, even if they're overreactions about image, status, and validation. Make sure to actually allow more fire, more inspiration, more dream, more illusion, more feelings, and more spirituality come into your logical mind, because then you can have true purpose, true value, and true sight in mind in order to separate and bring logicality, practicality, and detachment from certain feelings, visions, and imaginations that were not supporting your progress, your reality, and your structure, while having uniqueness, individuality, and freedom of mind. If you have Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Neptune, or Jupiter in Pisces, the star is the card for full moon in Leo 2026. This means you and others can see yourself as very valuable, very unique, as an example of creativity and spirituality in a realistic but kind of distant way, and you might see yourself as valuable, as unique, but distant. You might not see yourself as able to associate yourself and be a part of a constellation, because constellations are a group of stars. This might happen because you might be overreacting to feelings and emotions about your image, about your value and validation, or you might be overreacting about others' actions and expressions about yours and their value, validation, entertainment, and attention. Others might try to forcibly make you a part of their constellation, and they might try to make you think about yourself or about themselves, because Pisces, mutable water, everything goes back and forward. So they might try to force you to see yourself as a star according to their own set of values, and you might not relate to that, or they might be forcing you to see them as a star, as an example of uniqueness and individuality, by their own standards, by their own way to judge what is unique, what is valuable, what is great or not. And you as a Pisces here, you need to use the Aquarius stellium in your neighborhood right now to be a bit more sturdy, to be a bit more intellectual, to be a bit more holding and protective and acting on your limits and boundaries that are light, unique, and individual. You can be cold, you can be a bit more separated, but don't be harsh, don't be too deep, and don't be too punishing. Because then you and others might overreact and over-respond to limits, boundaries, and punishing reactions about their attention and their values. So if somebody's trying to force you to see them as a star in their own values and you punish that, you're punishing how they think you think and see their value, and then they might lash out on you, they might get revengeful, they might get too emotional and too insecure and think they cannot be around you anymore. Of course, this is very extreme, but it's full moon in Leo, so we gotta talk about these extreme scenarios. But in the end of the day, I see this as a way more light wave, so it's gonna be more about you accepting that you are a star. It's about you accepting that others can see you as a star, as an example of uniqueness and individuality, while having structure and a good reputation. And then it's about you going through extreme feelings of insecurity or accepting about your image, spirituality, and your values, and then using the Aquarius stellium to associate to groups, organizations, structures, or ways to go about reality that are unique and individual, that are rebelling and opposing, that are flexible and interesting, but also realistic, responsible, and progressive. So first, you gotta accept that you are a star by incorporating extreme feelings about your image and by incorporating how you can communicate and be seen in a unique and realistic way. And then it's about judging, selecting the associations, the groups, and the communities that you want to be a part of, so you and them can have stability and structure, and also the freedom and the validation to express themselves in unique, logical, and social, progressive, and humanitarian ways. And that's the end of the tarot reading. Remember to not get too much caught up in details, since the Devil was a tarot card for the full moon in Leo, but make sure if you're feeling too much in any way, too extremely giddy or too extremely insecure about your image, your value, your validation, your attention, or your entertainment, make sure to bring a little bit of the Aquarius stellium into the equation so you can be a bit more sure, clear, and to make sure you are following and being and relating with uniqueness and individuality that relates to you on a personal and spiritual level. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I wish you the best thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, and a whole bunch of individuality, creativity, and responsibility as well. Also, I wish that you believe in yourself and in all possibilities. Till the next reading or the next video, esoteric cloud surfer surfing out. Stay light.